Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back. So today we're driving, as you can see, and I'm recording on my cell phone because I wasn't really thinking when we left and I didn't bring my camera, so we're gonna do a cell phone video day. So we're having a little date day.
Hi.
She's driving. So we're actually in the middle of Indiana right now from Wisconsin. So ended up finding something last night. Some of you guys know about this already. I posted on the 821 Bravo Facebook page and asked you what you guys thought. So there's a lot of excitement over it. So I made a deal with a guy at about 11 o'clock last night, and we left this morning, and we're in the middle of Indiana. Got about another hour of driving to get there, and we're gonna pick something up, and I'll show you guys when we get there. So we're gonna do some vlogging. We just went out to dinner, and it's night time. We're still in Indiana. We didn't go home yet, so we just decided, because by the time we finally got there, dealing with weather and all kinds of stuff and having to pick up the U-Haul and all that good jazz, it was like 6 o'clock by the time we left. So we drove about another hour, and now we're actually at a hotel. So we just went to dinner. We don't have the kids this weekend or today, so and I kind of ruined her day by making her go with me to buy a car. So that's what we're doing right now, is coming back to the hotel. But here's the slug. We'll go over this in a little bit more detail later. It's a little rough, needs some love. Missing a taillight. It does have everything set up pretty much just to pop off. This is all fiberglass. It does have some wheels on it, new rims on front and back. Narrowed 8.8. It has a strange center section. It does have a bunch of bars in there for the suspension. Different color door. And I don't know if you can see all the bars inside there. It does have a full cage. Everything is pretty solid. It looks pretty nice. It doesn't have a dash, or has a steering wheel, but it's not connected. So there's still a lot that needs to be done. It does have aerospace components, brake system. So on the front and back, it's called aerospace. I've never heard of it, but I looked them up on eBay, and it's like $600 for a set. So it does have the front suspension, the little clippy dippies here for the front. It's all fiberglass again. So the car is really light. And to put it in perspective, because the tie rods aren't hooked up, so the wheels were kind of flopping around when we pushed it on. The guy that I bought it from actually pushed it onto the trailer by himself, and then me and another guy were keeping the wheels straight. So dead stop at the beginning of the ramp, he just pushed the thing on the trailer by himself. So it's pretty light. Tin can, we'll make it move. So we're gonna go inside. See, a lot of you guys were kind of laughing because of the weight in the back versus the front, how much this thing is sagging. But I don't know if I told you guys. I told some, but there's also a fully dressed 5.3 and a TH400 back here too. So fully dressed, doesn't have intake, but all the accessories, which really don't need, and wire harness and everything else. So there's a lot of extra weight back here. So it's not all just the tongue weight, which it kind of looks a little goofy if you didn't know it was back there, but not all tongue weight. Big old booty. Alrighty, boys and girls, we got this thing off of the trailer now, and I'm gonna kind of do a walk around. We'll talk about some things. It was an adventure getting it off, because it was just me and my wife. Like I said before, it was me and two other guys that put it on the trailer, and the one guy pushed it up, which was amazing. So he's like an ox or something. Pushed it up pretty much by himself. This thing's pretty light too, and we were kind of pulling on the front wheels, but it was definitely an adventure for me and my wife to get this off by ourselves, because the tie rods are not hooked up. What I did end up doing was, I don't know if you can see it, I ended up sticking I think it's like a power steering pump bolt, LS power steering pump bolt, through that side. So I was actually able to steer one wheel, and then she just kept that wheel straight, and then we were able to back it off. So that was a treat, and it was raining at the time that we did it. That's what all these fingerprints and handprints and smudges and all this crap is from, because it was raining while we were doing that. Talked about it before. This is all fiberglass. I don't know how or why or when this got converted to the orange style, but trying to figure out as much of the history on this car as I can. I've been in contact with 2 of the previous owners so far, and it sounds like this car's been in this condition for a pretty long time, going back at least 3 years from what I have found out so far. But the last time that the car was registered was in 2006. So it's a Maryland car. It's from Maryland. I bought it from Indiana. It was in Indiana for the 2 previous owners. Not sure where it was before that owner. Sounds like this thing has gone through quite a few hands and just not really gotten very much attention. There was an engine in it 2 owners ago, and very nice looking setup. I saw the pictures of it. It was very cool. So it does have new wheels, and a whole box of parts. So this is like oil feed lines, turbo oil feed and drain lines, intercooler piping. There's 2 sets of 5/8 wheel studs in there, fuel pressure regulator, blow-off valves, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So also found these things in the car, and when I picked it up, honestly, I went to go pick it up and I was just committed. I was taking it no matter what. So I didn't really even, we looked it over a little bit, and I wasn't really too concerned with what I was even looking at, because I was really out of it after the 6-7 hour drive to go get it. So I was just like, let's just load it up and I'm leaving. So I found the front rotors, rear diff cover, another caliper, and then the steering rack. Little dealies here. This is cool because these are all cracked on the front right now, so that's awesome that those are there. On3 Performance 7096 is the model number. No shaft play, and there's also another turbo on the front still right now. So there's another turbo right there. So it has the turbos. I believe they're mismatched though. If I was paying attention, that they did match, and then he thought he had an issue with the turbo, and it ended up being the wastegate. So took a turbo off of this car to put it on his other project to test it. Still had the same problem, and then switched the wastegate out, and it ended up being the wastegate, not the turbo. So he kept the other turbo on it. So these may be mismatched. I didn't verify that yet, but I'll probably do different turbos anyways, or I mean maybe even find another used one of these. If you guys got one, let me know. So let's go on the inside. So I got a bunch of the boxes out. The seats are loose, but there's 2 boxes of the seat rails in there. Everything's pretty much gutted. So I'll have to put like a Toyota Prius dashboard in there, something really good, and then everything is pretty much done in the back. It has the rear firewall to separate the fuel cell. Has the cage, and I believe it's a 850 cert cage. I believe it's a 850. It actually has a sticker on it. It's like an NHRA cert sticker. It's very faded and very hard to read. I probably won't be able to get it on a video. But this little notch here says 850 and slower, where that hole's punched. So it looked like this was inspected at one point back in its day, and was certified for 850s. So that's kind of an exciting thing. I think finding that made me realize that this car was probably driven at some point. Like what I was originally thinking was that it was just an unfinished project. Well, somebody like started working on it and then just never finished it. But now seeing the certification, I don't think somebody would have paid the money to get the certification unless they were pretty much ready to drive it. So it's probably more of a car that had a prime or was in its prime at one point and just kind of fell off to the wayside and ended up how it is now. Got sold, went through some hands, and now we really don't know the history on it. So kind of cool. Let's keep going. It does look like there was a bar that was chopped off on the back. You can see there's a bar welded, so I'm not really sure where that would have gone. I did use the steering. Like I said, I hooked up the front driver's side wheel to the tie rod, and the steering wheel, everything worked just fine there. So the rack seems like it's working, but this side was too long. I wasn't able to get this bolt in there, so I just left it loose. So maybe let's go around and get the hood and the trunk off, and I'll show you guys some more. This door is a little bit loose. It does drop down a little bit, but it's probably just the pin bushings, which isn't really much of a concern at all. The door handles, everything works great. The crank windows, everything works. It's all real glass. It does have some Hoosiers on there. They're not slicks, they're like the brainworm model right here, but they're on there. We'll probably get some use out of those. And I was very, very excited when I found this in the back of the car. Like I said, I didn't really look through everything a whole lot. Like we were in the car for probably almost 7 hours by the time we got there to get this thing. And I'm gonna be honest, I had a wedding the night before. I think I posted that on the 821 Bravo Facebook page. And I was at a wedding the night before, and I was a little bit hungover from the free beer when we left to go pick this thing up, and I was in the car for about 7 hours to get it before we picked it up. And I didn't really look over a whole lot because at that point, you know, I'm pretty much committed. I'm going to take it regardless. I went there to get it, and we're going to get it. That's how I roll. So, and I was super excited when I found this thing in there because I left, you know, driving about how I'm going to get another light or when or where or why, and this thing is broken, so probably still have to replace that one. But either way, this made me really happy. And then the whole box of goodies, and then finding this good turbo and all of this other stuff. Yeah, we already went through that. Let's keep rolling. I'm excited. Probably why I'm rambling, because I'm just excited. And did have a kill switch in there at some point, off on. And what I just noticed, it had this hole in the back, and I'm like, what the fuck is this hole for? That was probably for a parachute. So this car at one point probably had a parachute on it. Which, that's, you know, just all these little things that I'm finding is probably, it's leading me to believe that this car was like really fast at some point, and somebody really enjoyed this car and had a good time with it and just decided to move on for whatever reason. And then somebody picked it up at some point and decided they were going to work on it and never did. And then it went through multiple people, and now it's here. So it's almost like it's a restoration project is how I'm thinking about it. But it's really cool. 40 years old. Yeah, I don't think there's really much new to see on this side. So let's take the trunk off and the hood off, and we'll keep rambling. All right, so come along with me for the ride in my rear end here, and we'll see what we got. So the diff cover was missing when I picked it up, so I'm a little concerned about that, but it looks pretty good. I mean, everything rolls pretty smooth. There wasn't any issues with that. I'm sure the pinion gear and everything seems like it's fine. A little dirty, so I'll scrape that out, spit shine it, and we're just gonna roll with that until something breaks. So it does have like a full ladder bar setup. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here, guys. So we're gonna see what we can use. I'm gonna try to use all this stuff unless I find something that's catastrophic or something that I feel is really dangerous and I don't really want to deal with. But other than that, we're gonna go with some of it. It does have the disc brakes in the rear, so shouldn't have to worry about like C-clip eliminators or anything. This is a shortened 8.8. I believe it's the 31 spline. I would fucking hope it's a 31 spline if you went through all the work to do this and then add the disc brakes and everything. But it does have firewall, like I said. That's all welded in. Tubbed, mini tubbed. Not a huge tub, but there's some tubbage. And there's a big freaking hole here. And some aluminum brackets and some holes here. This is probably for where the fuel cell was. So we're allowed to get creative back here and do whatever the hell we want. Kind of exciting. This is fun. Let's go to the front. So looking at this thing from the front now, there's some things that I want to show you, and everything looks pretty cool, especially on the pictures and everything. And a couple guys that I talked to, like the guy I got it from and the guy who had it before him, there's some pretty nice looking pictures of a really good looking engine with twin turbos mocked up, and everything looked really sweet. But digging into this thing a little bit more, it's I think more interesting than what I originally thought. More interesting because I think I'm starting to understand a little bit more of the history, even though I can't confirm it, but I can kind of confirm it, and I want to try to explain it to you, so let's try to do that. So what I think happened with this car is this car was a car that somebody was using at some point. That's why we have the 850 cert sticker on there, or what I think is 850, and then, but I don't know, it's questionable because it doesn't have the complete hoop all the way around, but it does have the bars. I thought 850 needs to have the hoop, but not really sure on that. You guys can leave it in the comments, let me know. So what I think happened with this car is the original cage was already built, and then somebody decided one day that they wanted to add the front tube chassis. So you can see, like over here, this stuff is just tack welded, right? So this is finish welded all the way around, but this is tacked in. But if you look at the same plate on the other side, this is just tacked in here. All tacked. This top plate is tacked, and there's some stuff like the easy stuff is finish welded here, the turbo mount plates, the turbo mount plate on this side, all that stuff is all finish welded. Down here, the real easy stuff. So what I'm thinking is somebody started to do the tube chassis work, tacked everything into place, wanted to mock up the twin turbo setup, and then added this front bumper, because the pictures that I saw originally when everything was all yellow, it didn't have the holes in the bumper down here. So what I'm thinking is when the tube chassis was added, twin turbos were mocked up, this bumper was changed to a bumper that has the holes for good airflow to the turbo right there, and that's why none of this stuff is finished. And it seems like it's all not finished at the same time, because if you look at this hood latch deal right here, this is where those little clips go in, this isn't even finished. So there's one here in place. It was probably done originally. Yeah, and let's look at this. 1, 2, and this would be the third one, and we have 1, 2, and 3 on the hood. So the front latches are not even finished. So I'm thinking the color of the bumper was changed at the same time that the tube chassis work was being done. It was just never finished, and this thing probably never ran with twin turbos. This is probably really cool project car, and it was going very fast at the time, and then somebody decided to try to do more and then just never finished it and got rid of it. So that's my thought. So we got a lot of work to do, guys, and I think the crossover point for me when I realized what was going on here was when I decided to go inside here. So I pulled this fender off and I went inside here, and you can see that that weld is not finished. So everything on the cage is done, but as soon as you come to the front bar, the front bar is not welded. It's just tacked on. So everything from here forward was attempted to be worked on, started, and then looks like a lot of the easy stuff was done. Kind of bolt some stuff up, make you feel good, and then it just never got done. So kind of cool. It does have the transmission cross member though, so I'm excited about that. Found the brake calipers or the brake rotors, so I'm pretty pumped. I think I like the history of the car, a lot more. I'd like to know more about it. So if anybody knows any history on this, I know there's a lot of really smart guys out there, and a lot of you guys know a lot of stuff. So if you know anybody who had this before, it's originally from Maryland. If you know anybody, let me know. I would just like to talk to the person that, you know, more people that had this. I can tell it's been through some hands. So very cool, very fun. I'm excited to try to get this thing going. It's not going to be a flop it in and go project. It's going to be some work, but that's what we do, right? We just work on stuff and have fun.
Like cheese curds.
All right, so what I'm trying to do is see how well the suspension holds the weight, and just making sure that the wheels aren't gonna like fly off if I put some weight in it, because I was thinking about taking the engine out of the truck. I still gotta get it out. I don't have a place to put it. I was like, well, why don't we just put it right in the car right away? And then I asked my wife to help me, because I'm not 500 pounds like the engine is.
Neither am I.
Neither is she, but together we are closer. So we both got in the engine bay and we were jumping. And remember all those tack welds I was talking about? You see that? That we broke it already. So this whole thing, it's being held on by an intercooler coupler right now. But we were jumping like on the K member here. We had our front feet on this intercooler, this intercooler tube crossover pipe.
Until it broke.
And we were just jumping on there all happy and holding hands, and we might have even been singing a song. But next thing I know, I heard a loud crack and a scream, and then I was getting yelled at because she cut her ass on this thing. She was like, "Woo, your fault." Did one of those. So, all right. Just wanted to add that. We're gonna have fun with this thing. I'm gonna push it back into the garage. It's really heavy, so now I'm gonna throw the engine in. Oh, well, I got you guys. Look here. So this tells me that it did run when the hood was on it at some point. So you got some heat there. Fiberglass hood, it was on. So that's my theory, guys, is that the whole tube front was started and just never finished. Somebody wanted to do something cooler than it was, and now we're here. So let's try to restore it and like actually get it to make some farting noises. All right, so we got the scalator dud backed up in here, and we're gonna pull this engine out. And what I think I'm gonna do, and you can see that the engine is backwards, so I actually flipped the chain around 180, so when I picked it up it would spin backwards. So now it's in the right position, so all I have to do is spin the hoist, and I'm just gonna bring it and I'm gonna drop it right in the car. So we did jump on it. That's why we were inside there jumping on it, because I was thinking the suspension and stuff was really loose and like the wheels were gonna fall off. But I think what I was looking at was really just the caliper brackets were loose, and that kind of sketched me out a little bit. So I mean, I'm just gonna flop it in. It shouldn't hurt anything just to drop it in. I mean, we'll test it. If it hurts it, it hurts it. Alright guys, so the back of the Halls a Lot of Shit Escalade is empty now. And yeah, I've been using this for a while. I've had this, we redid our carpeting a few years ago, like a while back in the house. I had just had this extra chunk, so I've always been using it to move engines and transmissions and it's kind of funny to see the look on people's faces when I pull up in an Escalade to pick up an engine and just toss it in the back. You're like, what the fuck are you thinking? So this is done, and I'll show you the rest. So I did flip the hoist around. We got all the accessories off, harness and all the goodies. You kind of saw that, and then the battery died, so I went back in to recharge it and then just finish this up. So it's kind of in there mounted already. Not really, but I'm going to take this manifold off. I really just didn't have another place to store this engine because my buddy right now has my extra engine hoist, so I have a 5.3 over on the shelf right there on my hoist, or on my stand, and then my buddy has my extra stand because he's redoing inline 6 from like a mid-60s C10. So he's using that thing right now, and I wanted to store it in here. So the issue that I'm having right now is the weight pushes the front end of the car down, and it kind of smashes the hoist legs. So I can't really get the hoist out. I do have one bolt in there mounted right now, so I'm just going to leave it kind of hanging on the stand. And yeah, so I kind of LS swapped my Fox body that I didn't have yesterday, in a way. However you feel about it, thanks for watching. Have a good one.